Okay, I would like to explain a little bit on our drawing how this whole 1200 assembly works. So first you have to see it. So this is, I'll use colored pencil. So this is all our rotor. So this is all the rotor, and I would say this is the end plate. So this is all end plate. So first of all, we install the spacer. When we get our rotor, we install the spacer on it. I will color the spacer as blue. Then we install the bearing inner race. By the way, we have to heat these two up in order for them to slide up with the bearing heater. Then there is this item number 20 ring spacer that goes in, and after that we have our bearing. This bearing, you don't have to heat it up, it will just slide on. So we have this bearing, and we have an outer race attached to it with a pin. So these are all assembled together. So this you will slide on, and then after that you will put the lock washer. This is the lock washer that would go in, and after that we will put a left hand nut. So after we put this nut on, this whole assembly, should have used one color for all of that for ease, so let's use red color. So all of this assembly, this red, this guy, this guy, this guy, and our rotor, all of these become one piece. So now what we would do when we and now what you have to do is you have to measure the gap here between the end plate face over here and top of the bearing here at two places. Either you can there are two ways to do it. You can do it right now over there, use a dial indicator and measure the gap over here. This not usually, always, this sits like higher than this face. So this would sit, so this bearing race would sit higher than this face, and that distance is the same and that gap is the same gap that you want to maintain between your end plate and the rotor, which is, we look for 9 to 12.009 to 0.012 inches. So this is what we are looking for. So if this gap, if you measure between the top of this and this is between 9 and 12, you are okay. If how I have seen them doing in assembly is they would put a screw, they would put a bolt on this, and once you put a bolt on this, your end plate is pulled up, so this gap goes away. So this gap, instead of this gap sitting here, this gap comes over here. So this gap and this gap and this gap are same. So either you have it here, once you tighten it up, you will get the gap here, before you put this bolt in, you will get this gap here. So you have to so the key in assembling and how adjusting the gap on between the end plate and the rotor lies here. You will see in the assembly that they have put the bolt on, and then they used a feeler gauge to measure that gap. If you don't have a dial indicator, this is what you can do. So once you now you have to, so this phase is always higher than this by this gap. So for example, if this phase is more than 12 thou, you have to take some material off this item number 20. You have to take this ring out, take the same amount out. Now what has been said is, if this gap is less, what you have to do is you have to take some material off the outer face. This is what it's saying over here. To bring play up to 11 thou, grind machine amount needed of the thickness of item 21, which is actually this ring, and also the outer face of item 98, this, which is this. So 98 is this, 21 is this. So you have to take material off this face, only the outer face. How you will do it? You would have to machine it. Well, and to bring this gap up to 12 thou, from a lower gap to a higher gap. If your gap is higher than 12 thou, then you would take some material off only this ring. So this is how you adjust this the gap on the end plate. So it's simple. Once you put this castle nut on, once you put this so everything is tight on that, and then basically you are just trying to move this bearing up or down with the help of this plate and this plate, this plate and this plate. You are just moving it, adjusting it in order to adjust your gap. And you can follow the videos as well, and it should clear the things out for you. I just wanted you to see this information before you jump into the videos, and that will help you understand what we are doing. So this is a picture of the same. I have glare on there. So we have our rotor, we have the spacer, bearing in a race, this, our bearing, angular contact bearing, this sleeve on the outside, there's a pin that goes in, it's not shown in this model, and then our left hand nut. It's not actually a slotted nut, it's just a bearing preload nut. So once you tied this, all of these all of this will become one piece. Now you have to move it up, right or left, in order for you to adjust this gap between the end plate and the rotor. To move it down, you have to take some material off this guy. To increase so you have your gap is higher over there. If your gap is more than 12 thou, you have to take material off this. If your gap is less than 12 thou or 11 thou and you have to increase it, then you have to take some material off this face. So you would increase a gap over here when the bolts are not in this, and that will help you to push it down when these bolts are tightened. Okay, if you have any questions, send me an email, and I should be able to help you. Thank you.